Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham Yahushai, Bahasham Recha Kodash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And today we're going to go into the book of Judges, the 16th chapter, as we saw, a lot of dealings of Samson in the 15th chapter. And now we see how it is that by the Lord, having Samson take an interest in one of the Philistine women, and led to all that conflict, between Samson and the Philistines, as we saw a lot of in the 15th chapter. So this is Judges chapter 16, verse 1. Then went Samson to Gaza, and saw there an harlot, and went in unto her. And it was told the Gazites, saying, Samson is come hither. And they compassed him in. So they came and surrounded it where he was, and laid wait for him all night in the gate of the city, and were quiet all the night, saying, in the morning, when it is day, we shall kill him. So they came in there to lay an ambush, and they waited, thinking that, by morning time, the second he comes out, take him out. And Samson lay till midnight, and arose at midnight, and took the doors of the gate of the city, and the two posts, and went away with them, bar and all, and put them upon his shoulders, and carried them up to the top of an hill that is before Hebron. So he quite literally took the city gates. We're not talking about some small doors, talking about city gates here. He took both of them, on his shoulders, and just basically carried it off. That's crazy work. And it came to pass afterward that he loved a woman in the valley of Sorek, whose name was Delilah. And the lords of the Philistines came up unto her, and said unto her, entice him, and see wherein his great strength lieth, and by what means we may prevail against him, that we may bind him to afflict him, and we will give thee every one of us 1,100 pieces of silver. So we were going to make you rich as shit, but you got to find out what's his weakness. What is it that makes him so strong? And then, confirm for us that if we can exploit that weakness, we can basically bring him and subject him onto us, and we'll give you the money. And Delilah said to Samson, tell me, I pray thee. Now, at this point, keep in mind that it's one chapter, but this is over a period of time, right? As Delilah, is with Samson. So he, as it says, he loved her, i.e. there was some bond at least he had with her. And so she says to him, tell me, I pray thee, wherein thy great strength lieth, and wherewith thou mightest be bound to afflict thee. Now, it wasn't like she was asking directly, how can I bind you and then afflict you? But she's saying, basically, in a roundabout way, you're mad strong, right? You're so strong. Where does that strength come from? Like, what's your kryptonite? What's your weakness? How does this work? And Samson said unto her, if they bind me with 7 green withs that were never dried, then will I be weak and be as another man. When you look that up, the green withs are referring to like the strings that are used for a bow when they make bows. So basically fresh ones that haven't been used. He says, if you tie me up with that, then it's going to make me weak. Then the lords of the Philistines brought up to her 7 green withs which had not been dried, and she bound him with them. So once again, being practical here, right? It's not that she's sitting there in a room with him. She asks him this. He tells her, and then right then and there, the Philistines come out. Here's the whips, and then she grabs him while he's awake. She ties him up. That's not realistic. That's that's not how it happened. You gotta be practical with it, right? She finds out this information, and then at a time when she, either Samson is away or she has room to slither away, she lets the Philistines know. They bring it onto her. And then at a time that is good for her, when Samson comes to see her, they chill or whatever the case is, He falls asleep. She puts him to sleep and whatnot. And then she ties him with it in a way where he wouldn't, wake up. So once she bound him with it, as it says, now there were men lying in wait, abiding with her in the chamber. See? So this had to have been when they planned this, obviously Samson wasn't around. So when he came to see her, right, in the chamber, these men were hiding in there, waiting to see, okay, if this works, then we're going to take him. And she said unto him, the Philistines be upon thee, Samson. And he brake the withs, as a thread of tow is broken when it toucheth the fire. So she basically panic wakes him up with this. Like, oh, the Philistines are coming. Almost like a false alarm to see his reaction. And he wakes up, obviously on instinct, and he just rips the wrists off of him like a thread that if you put that thin ass thread over fire, it just immediately tears. That's how easily he just tore through those. So his strength was not known. So obviously she realized that's not the secret to his strength. And Delilah said unto Samson, behold, thou hast mocked me and told me lies. Now tell me, I pray thee, wherewith thou mightest be bound. So she came and asked him again. Once again, these are at different points in time, right? Where she's asking him this, getting into his ear, basically nagging him and stressing him. And, you know how women get, they don't let shit go. Every occasion they get, right? So that's what she was doing. And he said unto her, if they bind me fast with new ropes that were never occupied. So eventually he's like, fine. If they tie me up, if I'm ever tied up with new ropes that were never used, then I'm going to become weak and be as another man. So Delilah, knowing that, she saw an occasion, and when the time was right, one of these other days, she puts him to sleep, and then she tries it out. Therefore Delilah took new ropes and bound him therewith, and said unto him, the Philistines be upon thee, Samson. And there were liars in wait, abiding in the chamber, yet again. And he brake them from off his arms like a thread. Easy work. And Delilah said unto Samson, hitherto thou hast mocked me and told me lies. So now again, you lied to me. Tell me wherewith thou mightest be bound. So just tell me the truth. And he said unto her, if thou weavest the 7 locks of my head with the web. So remember, he was a Nazarite, so his hair couldn't be cut. So he had it locked, like braided, you could say. And so he said, if you interweave them with that fabric, when you go into the web, it says here, almost like weaving it together, right? A web of unfinished stuff on a loom. So when you look at the other translations, they sort of put it together. And the NKJV, right? If you weave the 7 locks of my head into the web of the loom, because the loom is what they would typically use to like actually weave clothing. NLT, if you were to weave the 7 braids of my hair into the fabric on your loom and tighten it with the loom shuttle, I would become as weak as anyone else. So while he slept, Delilah wove the 7 braids of his hair into the fabric. And she fastened it with the pin, and said unto him, the Philistines be upon thee, Samson. And he awaked out of his sleep, and went away with the pin of the beam and with the web. So basically he got up, got up, like out of, once again, that panic wake, and just took that whole joint with him, right? So she realized, oh, okay, clearly, he didn't even feel anything. He didn't feel weak. He just got up and just like he would at other times. Now, all these times when he got up, it's not like the Philistines were right there and he would just go and fight with them, right? She was saying this and they were like false alarms where he would just wake up ready, and she would see in his reaction when he woke up if he still had power or not. And the Philistines that were hiding there would see that too. And then, because they wouldn't risk, oh shit, the second he wakes up, let's rush him. because if he still has his power, then they're cooked. So they were watching each time to see if he actually tried to break through and he couldn't. Then they would see, okay, it worked. And then they would come out and he would fight with them. Number two, obviously, if every time she tried this, there were Philistines there that were fighting with him, something would click that, all right, this girl keeps asking me my weakness, and every time I tell her, she does it when the Philistines are here. Something ain't adding up. All right, so it's not like he was fighting them every time he woke up. She was just saying that to, once again, false alarm. Verse 15, and she said unto him, how canst thou say I love thee when thine heart is not with me? So how are you going to say you love me and you don't really care about me? Thou hast mocked me these 3 times, and has not told me wherein thy great strength lieth. So here she goes, right? And what she was doing was being cunning, right? She was using her female nature to get whatever she wanted out of him. So she starts to nag and she starts to cry and she starts the emotional, all that stuff, right? And it came to pass when she pressed him daily with her words and urged him, so that his soul was vexed unto death. You know, she's acting all like she don't want to talk, and you know, got this little like, you know, oh, you don't love me. Why do you even say that? Oh, don't even touch me. You don't love me. You don't care about me. That kind of shit. And every day, eventually you just get so it just gets so much. You're just like, yo, fine. You know, I'll just tell you. And that he told her all his heart, and said unto her, there hath not come a razor upon my head. And really what this tactic is, they make a big deal out of nothing. They make it such a big deal for so long that eventually, you know, it gets into your mind to think, damn, really, is this really that big of a deal? And to the point where you get so stressed that in order to just put an end to it, you know, as was the case with Samson, he just like, fine, I'll just tell her. So as it says here, there hath not come a razor upon my head, for I have been a Nazarite unto God from my mother's womb. If I be shaven, then my strength will go from me, and I shall become weak and be like any other man. So he finally told her what the secret of his strength was, and what his weakness was. That his hair couldn't be cut, and if it was shaved off or it was cut, then he would lose his strength. And when Delilah saw that he had told her all his heart, she sent and called for the lords of the Philistines. So when she realized, okay, he's not lying, he's telling the truth, she went and called the Philistines once again when she had occasion, saying, come up this once, for he has shewed me all his heart. And his heart meaning his mind, like he was honest with me. Then the lords of the Philistines came up unto her, and brought the money in their hand. And she made him sleep upon her knees. You know, so she probably treated him real good that day, you know, lulled him to sleep nicely. And she called for a man, and she caused him to shave off the 7 locks of his head. Now, this whoever, likely this Philistine that she called to shave off his head, was likely like professional at doing that. So he did it in a way where it wouldn't tug at his hair, it wouldn't pull, it wouldn't be, you know, a point where it would wake him up, and likely was pulling, so cutting it, not like using a razor to because you would wake up if somebody's doing that. So as it says here, and she began to afflict him, meaning that she began to make him weak, right, throughout this process of actually having his hair being cut, and his strength went from him. And she said, the Philistines be upon thee, Samson. And he woke out of his sleep and said, I will go out as other times before and shake myself. So basically, I'm just going, you know, like all the previous times when she woke him up. So he thought he was just going to break free. And if they were there, he would basically go and do what he got to do. Only difference now, as it says, that he wist not that the Lord Yahweh was departed from him, because he hadn't noticed. But the Philistines took him. So this time they actually were there. But the Philistines took him and put out his eyes and brought him down to Gaza, and bound him with fetters of brass, and he did grind in the prison house. So they were actually able to capture him this time because he didn't have his strength. And they basically took out both his eyes, bound him up, and then they put him in the prison house. And that grind is like, the labor that he had to do in the prison house. Howbeit the hair of his head began to grow again after he was shaven. So this still, obviously took a period of time. Maybe his hair might have been growing a little faster than the average person, who knows? But he had to spend some time in that prison house, to allow his hair to grow. Then the lords of the Philistines gathered them together for to offer a great sacrifice unto Dagon their god. So on one day, when they had, you can probably imagine this being maybe one of their holy days, and they're about to do the sacrifice and to rejoice, as it says, for they said, our God hath delivered Samson our enemy into our hand. And when the people saw him, they praised their God. So they went and called him from the prison and brought him out. For they said, our God hath delivered into our hands our enemy, and the destroyer of our country, which slew many of us. And it came to pass, when their hearts were merry, that they said, call for Samson, that he may make us sport. So basically to amuse them. And they called for Samson out of the prison house, and he made them sport. So whatever it is that they were, because remember, his eyes were still out. So whatever it is that they had him do, whether it was fighting wild animals or whatever the case was, that would amuse them, that's what they basically had him do. And they set him between the pillars. And Samson said unto the lad that held him by the hand, to direct him, because he couldn't see, suffer me that I may feel the pillars whereupon the house standeth, that I may lean upon them. So he basically asked, just, help guide my hand to the pillars, right? Where that hold up the house, so I can lean there, because obviously he can't see. Now the house was full of men and women, and all the lords of the Philistines were there. And there were upon the roof about 3,000 men and women. So this was a big place that beheld while Samson made sport. And Samson called unto the Lord Yahweh and said, O Lord Yahweh, remember me, I pray thee, and strengthen me, I pray thee, only this once, O God, that I may be at once avenged of the Philistines for my 2 eyes. So he basically prayed for the Lord to give him the strength back, so that he can, avenge himself for what they did to him. And Samson took hold of the 2 middle pillars upon which the house stood. So the pillars that were holding up the house, right, the foundation of it, and on which it was borne up, which is the pillars that were, once again, holding up or carrying up the house, of the one with his right hand and of the other with his left. And Samson said, let me die with the Philistines. And he bowed himself with all his might, and the house fell upon the lords and upon all the people that were therein. So he basically pulled those pillars and broke down the whole house, because the foundations were now gone. So the dead which he slew at his death were more than they which he slew in his life. Then his brethren and all the house of his father came down and took him and brought him up and buried him between Zorah and Eshtaol in the burying place of Manoah his father. So at this point, his father was dead, once again, which is why I said these events transpired, right, over a period of time. And he judged Israel 20 years. And that brings us to the end of the book of Judges, the 16th chapter. Lord willing, this was edifying to the elect. In closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rechak, Kodash. Until next time, Shalom.